Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks, and for those of you watching on my other channel, hello and welcome to Comic Book Gallery. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? So, today's video is how to get in collectibles, and I grabbed as much as I could to help represent the various things you can get into. I think when most people think of collectible, right off the bat, they think of comic books. But recently, people have been collecting pops, Magic the Gathering, and I really wouldn't say recently on Magic the Gathering, because Magic the Gathering's been around since the 1990s, so I'll give it a little bit more respect than that. But recently would be more like statues, Marvel Legends series, and definitely pops have made a big impact. So when you're collecting, the first thing you're like, oh, I watched this movie, or, I'm really into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'll move over here. So I'm just now getting into Marvel Legends X-Men, or Marvel Legends, so I'm trying to complete this set. This character back here is pretty cool. His name is Sugar Man. So, I don't think I'm going to get into big statues. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I mean, that's a serious commitment. And if you're looking to resell those, you better do your research, like on any of these collectibles. Star Wars, I got my little Mandalorian pop here. So, Star Wars are another one that's been a long time collectibles. That if you think of toys, you also think of comic books. He-Man is another IP that people think of. I mean, I just got this. I thought it was cool. Terraclaw Skeletor. And representing Marvel, I chose Mr. Fantastic only because the Fantastic Four, along with the X-Men, haven't hit yet. But when they do, all those comic books that are keys are going to go up. Put this back here. I do have some Dungeons and Dragons, but even like the first sets, and this one right here is not the first set, but it's still worth a little bit of money. I mean, you're going to pay anywhere between, depending on condition, 75 to 150, depending on what set and what it comes with. So, while Dungeons and Dragons is not a big collectible yet, I think if they're successful with some of the movies, and maybe if they do stuff on Netflix, some of their older stuff can gain value. Like this raiding party here. I had picked this up from a store for like $50. So these are like limited edition sets. And it's not like you just can't go and get these other similar models. But if you keep these things sealed, they can go anywhere between 150 to 300, maybe even more. So even in Dungeons and Dragons, besides the first set, including the adventures and some of the books, they can have value, but they don't hold as much value as opposed to comic books. Now, Magic the Gathering has been slowly gaining value. Oops. Sorry, Donatello. I'll get the rest of the set of these. Magic the Gathering is slowly been gaining value, and I started playing back in like 92, like the tail end of 91, and I've been playing on and off, and I started back in 2009 after I'd sold everything off in 2000. So I accumulated a lot in 2009, and it wasn't until a few years later that I decided, I want to say about 2 to 3 years later, I decided to start selling off my collection. And I was averaging buying like a box of standard a week at one point, or at least a box every month. And for those of you who know about Magic the Gathering, the set at the time was The Rise of Eldrazi, so I was also getting some World Wake. So as Magic the Gathering really started to take off, I was able to make somewhat of a living by opening up my own little online store on eBay and selling off book cards I had along with other collectibles. So Magic probably brought me, I don't know, an extra 500 to a grand a month at one point, give or take. Um, Up until 2010, when my father had a stroke, that's when everything in my business started going down. I was still able to use those profits to take care of them. It's just that the medical bills were just a little bit overwhelming, even with help from friends and families and organizations. Um, it was just chewing too much into my profit to where I couldn't make the right moves to expand, but I did learn a lot. So, when you're collecting, regardless of what you're collecting, if you're collecting DC, whether you're collecting statues or independent, like, sorry, I got tongue twisted here, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, even though the name's staring right at me in the face, you should do your research. So, for those who are just getting into collecting, probably around the age of like 12 or 13, or adults who are just like, hey, I'd like to get on this too. The first thing I would tell you is do your research. You know, um, there are plenty of guides out there. So many YouTube videos, like myself and other channels that, depending on what you're into, you can follow and ask those people for advice and how they got into collecting. For me, I think I seriously got into collecting, I want to say back in 92. And while I was collecting comic books in high school, I didn't collect them because I thought they'd be worth value. I was collecting them because I enjoyed the stories. And as they grew valuable, I would sell them off at certain points in my life. And a lot of those books I regret, but I was able to get me a giant size X-Men. Excuse me. And take a drink here for a second. Pardon moi. That feels better. Um, for like a really good price. Now, even though it's a little beat up, no, I keep doing that. I still like the cover on it. It's got a tear in the spine. It's got this hole here, but nevertheless, I paid like $200 for it. Keep going back to this. Stop falling down. It's distracting. So Magic the Gathering was the first thing that, as I was playing the game, I started collecting and saw it as value. And then later on, it was comic books. And finally, I'm collecting pops and these figures, but not so much for value, just because I enjoy what they represent. Like I said, I got Donatello, the Joker, Mr. Fantastic. So if I make videos, it's easier for me to have this in the title page, and I enjoy collecting them. I think these are cool little alternatives to like big bulky statues. Same things with the action figures. It's something you like, especially like with the pops here. You can have a whole collection, and it doesn't really hurt the wallet that bad as compared to collecting, say, Magic the Gathering or comic books or big statues that, they can cost anywhere between bare minimum 500 to up to 15, maybe like 2, 3 grand, depending on where you live and shipping. Um, Collectibles are expensive. So when you get into this field, just kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Have somewhat of a goal. Like, say you really love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And you're like, well, I'm gonna start collecting those. Um, Watch videos about them, about what toys to collect. If you can, create a budget. Not if you can. First thing you need to do is you really need to create a budget if you're going to be collecting any of these things. And my second video, that one's going to be on Comic Book Gallery. So I'll leave a link in this description, but if not, you can just go to Comic Book Gallery. And my second video, which will be the follow-up to this, is going to be how to collect comics on a budget, which you could also apply to any of these other not IPs, but any of these other products, right, that you're into, whether it's pops or statues or whatever. Basically, whatever you're into, baseball cards, that's the other big thing. I never got into baseball cards, but, there are other cards that are also collectible. But you need to have a plan. And your first plan should be, 1, do your research. 2, set up a budget. And 3, buy the stuff that you like at first. Because if you ever get out of the hobby or whatever you're collecting, at least the stuff that you have will have some kind of value personally to you, right? Like I'm a big comic book fan. So whether Giant Size X-Men goes up, it goes down, tanks, which you probably won't do now. But whatever, I'm still going to enjoy these stories because I enjoyed the comic books on certain runs. Same thing with the pops. I'm not collecting the pops because, for value, even though some of them can be. And if I want to go that route, guess I could be out there in front of Target and be part of those videos where they're pushing over old ladies. Not that I would do that, but, you get what I'm saying. To kind of grab all this stuff. So I don't want to go that route, especially with like pops and stuff, but, you know, you never know what you're going to find. You watch certain videos, you learn a few things, and you're out in the wild, is, the term, and you never know what you're going to stumble upon. So, that's it. Just wanted to put a few thoughts down, let people know what I'm into collecting, and leave a comment below. Like what are you into collecting? Are you collecting in like toys, like He-Man, or did you start collecting with like Star Wars, and you realize after a while you held them for value, or you still have your original toys, and you're like, yeah, I have Darth Vader, and he's a little jacked up, but he's the original Darth Vader with Luke Skywalker and all these other figures, and those are still worth some money, even though they're not inside the original package anymore. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, become a subscriber, and if you want to stay on top of what I'm doing, hit the bell notification and leave a comment below. I really like to hear from you guys. I enjoy answering any comments that are made. So that'll do it, people. All right, I'll catch you next video. Peace.